The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everyone. We're going to begin the webinar on how to compete and win, hope to a troubled collision repair industry. I'm Melissa Jolls with RDA IMPACT, and David Luehr, owner of Elite Body Shop Solutions, is your presenter today. The webinar will take approximately 40 to 45 minutes, and we are recording it, and we'll post it on the YouTube channel. If you have any questions during the webinar, please type them in the chat box at the bottom right of your screen, and I'll give those to David throughout the presentation, and he can answer those for you. And if everybody on the webinar, if you're multiple people watching one screen, if you could just send me that in a chat, just let me know how many people are watching. I'd really appreciate that. We like to know how many people are attending. Now I'm going to turn it over to David.
Hi guys, thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. And welcome to How to Compete and Win. See, I'm in the very lucky position to be able to visit collision shops all over the country. I don't know exactly what you guys have been experiencing in your communities, but I'm finding that the independent and dealer collision repair is still very much alive and well. There may not be as many of us, but there are still thousands of us that are out there trying to get it done. Some of us are kicking butt while others continue to struggle a little bit. So regardless of the situation you guys are in, I'm here today to share what I've learned with those of you that are hungry for knowledge, and hopefully be able to offer some encouragement to those of you that may be feeling a little bit of pain right now during a very challenging time in our industry. My hope is today's webinar will provide you with a strategy for success if you have the determination to implement it. Now, some of the things I'll share with you today may be new concepts for some of you, and some of you may be even a little bit reluctant to buy into what I'm telling you, and that's fine. But I will challenge you to try to keep an open mind, because everything I share with you today is based on the real realities of what's going on out there. And it's not always what many of us have been conditioned to believe. So today I'm not here to necessarily tell you what you want to hear, but because I'm your friend, I'll promise I'll do my best to always tell you the truth. Now, some of the things we're going to cover today include why the customer experience and owning customers for life is the greatest form of advertising. We'll also cover some tips on how to build a winning culture in your shop that will allow you to attract and keep the right kind of talent. We'll also cover the important role that having written processes play in creating a stable work environment in your shop. And finally, how to challenge our thinking so we can get out of our own way to achieve the success that we're all capable of. See, I can remember many years ago discovering that my dream of being the most successful body shop owner in Oregon had instead turned into a nightmare. The freedom that I desired by becoming an entrepreneur was not what I thought it would be. Now, some of you know this very well, with very long days and unbelievable stress on my family and I. And I can remember times of being mentally exhausted and physically sick and still having to struggle out of bed in order to keep the bills and the employees paid. And unfortunately, what I discovered was that I didn't own a business, I owned a job. Maybe some of you guys feel like that at times. So since those early days, I went on to work in leadership positions at several of America's most successful collision repair shops, and with a mission to learn the best way to operate a collision repair business. And now, through my company, Elite Body Shop Solutions, we help the independent and dealer shops achieve incredible success through our mentorship and personal trainer style approach to business development. We want to help shops and the individuals that run them step into their unlimited potential, because all of you guys are far more powerful than you think you are. So lately, a lot of people want to know about consolidation. They ask me questions like, how can I compete with an Abra that just moved in my town? How can I compete with Gerber or Service King or Caliber? And sadly, a lot of people have fallen into what I like to call a victim's role and choose to blame consolidation for their troubles, like it's some kind of Walmart effect or something, which is total BS. I'm going to say something right now, and it may not win me any popularity contests, because a lot of people consider me a champion of the independent collision repair. And that's a title that I gladly accept and believe in. But the fact remains that the four big MSOs all started out just like many of you guys did, with one location and a dream. They've earned their place in history. Do I like what it's done to our industry? Not necessarily, but I accept it for what it is and try to figure out what I can learn from the situation, what I can learn from these guys. And do I agree with everything in their business model? Absolutely not. You know, I don't feel like a business model that's based primarily around referrals from the insurance industry is a good idea. To me, it's kind of like building a foundation from sand. In 2012, I was working for one of this country's most successful independently owned MSOs. We were just coming off a record year with nearly 20 million in sales. Processes were humming. Everything seemed to be going great. Then, boom, this happened. It was tough for me to adjust to. It shook me to the core and dramatically changed the business landscape in Tennessee forever. At the time, it was Abra's largest single acquisition, and it was not pretty. I really began to wonder, as independently owned collision repairers, are we going to be able to survive? You could say the experience really changed my beliefs. One valuable thing I learned was that when we continually challenge our beliefs on what is true, great things can happen. For example, the shop pictured here is capable of producing 60 ROs a week with a 6,000 square foot facility with an average cycle time of just over 3 days. You have got to challenge what you believe to compete today. I want you guys to meet my happy friend, Paul Taylor. Paul is the owner of Taylor's Vehicle Repair Center in Hull, England. He was recently featured in a Fender Bender magazine article called Surviving Independence, which featured a bleak picture of the collision industry in the United Kingdom as well as Australia. I pray that as an industry we never know the challenges that independent shop owners have faced over the pond. Paul was not always so happy. He started his business like many of us did years ago when he was only 19 years old. He's now 51. And as the story goes on, in 2013, he comes home to his wife, literally in tears, because he has just received a call from the largest insurance company in Britain, demanding an increase in its referral fee from 15 to 20%. That's right, I said referral fee. So not only are these guys getting around $40 an hour, it's actually 27 quid 50p, but they also have to pay a referral fee to the repair management company that doles out the work. And on top of that, they have to give out loaner cars. It's tough over there, guys. So when Taylor balked at the increase, he was immediately dropped from the program, along with 450 repair jobs a year they sent him. So clearly, this guy is devastated, but as he was quoted in the article saying, instead of wallowing in weakness, he decided to strengthen his business. Instead of becoming a victim, he chose the opportunity in the situation and decided to create a new normal for his business. He literally reinvented his business by returning his focus on the customer experience, finding ways to improve throughput using new technology such as robotics, and despite what some people would call impossible odds, is now turning a profit much higher than the rest of the industry average. And he was even awarded the Top Center of Excellence Award by the British Body Shop Awards. So I love this story because, you know, here's a guy that's up against the wall, and we see this all the time in this country. And it just goes to show you that by challenging your beliefs and creating a new normal, you can compete. You can compete with consolidators or anyone else, but only after we first learn to compete with our thinking, right? Sadly, what often hinders our progress is our own unwillingness to let go of what we know in order to learn new things. Because what got you here often won't get you there. So I want to talk to you guys briefly about the importance of owning the customer. There's a huge opportunity in improving this. It's something that the consolidators don't really focus on, but it's a great opportunity for you. Now, I sometimes upset people when I talk about this because I'm not saying that advertising is a waste of money, but for some of you it is when you go about it incorrectly. We have an industry that is what's called an on-demand product. It's not an impulse product, yet many of us spend a lot of money advertising as though it was an impulse product rather than an on-demand product. So what does this mean to a collision repair customer? It means that the purchase comes with a sense of dread, right? Nobody wants to be in an accident. The customer must spend money just to restore something to its pre-accident condition. Not very fun. And they must have a need before they even consider your business. So the companies that are really out there getting it done they understand branding. And I would really challenge you guys to learn all you can about how to brand your business before you consider spending a lot of money on advertising. Our friends over at Phoenix Solutions Group, I would encourage you to visit their website and read some of their white papers at phoenixsolutionsgroup.net. It'll really kind of open your eyes to, again, what's really going on out there. If you look at the graphic that says 1.49%, that was derived from an actual survey that was performed by a group of paint jobbers a couple of years ago. And out of the hundreds of people that were surveyed, believe it or not, less than 1 in 10 could even remember the name of the body shop that repaired their vehicle just 12 months prior. That number is just unbelievable to me. So I went out and experimented with it myself and come to the realization that we just do not, for the most part, do a great job at the customer experience. There's a lot of room for improvement, guys. So when you combine that with the fact that 87.23% of people in another survey knew somebody that also needed the services of collision repair facility. So if you look at that connection, or in this case that disconnection, it tells you that we do a horrible job of being able to get our customers to refer us because they don't remember our name. So that's something that we really need to focus on, is how do we create a repair experience that's going to be memorable so that they can tell their friends and family about us. And also, how do we keep in touch with our customers post-sale? There's several ways that you can do that through letters and sending cards and through just touching base with them periodically after the sale's over with. Good CSI scores are not enough. So there's some behavioral science behind what's going on with this, in that just because you have a score exceeding 95% doesn't mean that you created loyalty. And there's a couple ways that we can create loyalty, and that's by showing confidence and showing integrity. And we only have a few opportunities throughout the repair experience to do that. And one of them is by giving them a promise date. And then even more importantly is delivering honor before that promise date. Clearly, communication is key. And most of us on this webinar have had a situation where a customer is pulled in, got out of their rental car, and they walked right up to the rear bumper to see if you touched up that little chip. Even though you just did $5,000 worth of repair work on the front end, the first thing they look at is whether or not you touched up that chip. I'm convinced that they don't even realize they're doing that, but it's because they want to believe in you, and you need to be able to provide them with that confidence and integrity if you want to turn them into a promoter of your business. Wash the heck out of their car and make the lifetime warranty a meaningful experience for them as well. So I want to take some questions on customer experience. Melissa?
We actually have a question here, David. What are some of the best forms of advertising other than word of mouth that you've seen?
Okay. I really, and I don't know if it's if you could really directly call it advertising as much as marketing efforts placed. I've seen some guys that do an amazing job when it comes to their involvement in the community, because they're branding themselves. They're not just sending out an expensive television ad or a billboard that says, you know, come by Joe's Body Shop. We have a lifetime guarantee, and all our technicians are ICAR certified. You know, they're showing their commitment to be a part of the community. So I really like some of the things I see with community involvement. That's probably my most favorite. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I also like sending hand-signed cards to customers in the old-fashioned snail mail. That always seems to have a really good impact on them. And if you do it at regular intervals after the repair period, that keeps your body shop's name front of mind. I've found nothing else that works as well as that. Any other questions?
I don't see any right now.
All right, well, let's move on then. So, a lot of you guys have probably heard of Peter Drucker. He famously said that culture eats strategy for breakfast, and that's something that I truly believe. And this grainy picture that you see in front of you is actually Luehr's auto body circa 1989. And back in those days, we didn't think about culture. We didn't talk about leadership, and we didn't really talk about like employee benefits. To us, an employee benefit was a 6-pack of beer. Well, in this case, 4 cans of hams. But you know, so we never really talked about things like that. And I was doing this presentation recently in front of another group, and somebody pointed out that had an ashtray there right in front of the paint mixing bench. Not very smart. Boy, things have really changed since those days. But culture is another one of those things that you can really use to differentiate your business from the rest of the crowd. Again, it's something that I'm not finding the consolidators really taking advantage of. What's interesting is when you understand why your business is in business, what your purpose is, it can have a great impact on your culture. When your company is designed to please shareholders or private equity companies, it takes on a different flavor that's not always that wonderful. So it's another opportunity for you guys to take advantage of. So what is a culture, and how do you build one? So it says that organizational culture encompasses values and behaviors that contribute to the unique social and psychological environment of an organization. So it's like if cash was the lifeblood of your business, I would say that culture is the soul, if that makes any sense, right? And everybody's got a culture in their shop, whether they realize it or not. The smart ones figure out how to create the culture that they want. So this is like the foundation of building a culture. You know, if I asked a body shop owner, why are you in business? You know, what is your why? And they say, well, I'm in business to make money fixing cars. That's not good enough anymore. That would be a good candidate to probably sell to a consolidator, because I don't think they're going to be in business for the long run. I really don't. But if I talk to a business owner and says, we're in the business of fixing people's lives, we just happen to be fixing their cars to do it, it takes on a different vibe, a different meaning, and it gives the people that work in that culture a bigger meaning to why they come to work every day. there's a book recommendation I'd like to give you guys. It's called Start With Why. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And there's a second book I'd also like to recommend from Simon Sinek. So you got Start With Why, and another recent book I just finished reading is called Leaders Eat Last, also by Simon Sinek. Great books. It'll really change how you think about why you're in business and the impact that that can have on your future success. So let's go over a few specific tips that you guys can take back to your shops. A real big subject lately is I can't attract, we're having a difficult time attracting the young people into our business. And it should be no big surprise, because the millennials, as we now call them, it's not all about the money. And yet a lot of times we think that we're going to be able to attract the millennials by giving them more money than maybe they could earn in a different industry. But that's just not the case, guys. Many of the millennials nowadays are looking for more meaning in life. And it really changes how we go about operating if you're a leader. So first of all, like I mentioned, you guys have to figure out what's your company's higher purpose. Are we fixing people's lives, or are we just fixing cars for cash? You got to share that vision. You got to be out there with your guys every day saying, this is where we're trying to get, guys. This is why we do it. We're fixing people's lives. This is a big one. Give employees a voice and help them feel like they're contributing to the vision. Even the money is important. Don't get me wrong. Everybody wants money. It's what we need to live on. But above and beyond that, people want to feel like they're making a difference. That's what motivates people. Praise vital behaviors. So what's a vital behavior? A vital behavior is an activity or specific thing that is done that will produce a desired outcome. So for example, if you want a great CSI score, a vital behavior, a component of what makes that up, is that we've got to communicate with our customers. So if you catch one of your people communicating with their customers on a regular basis, like every couple days, like I recommend, you should praise them for that. Praise goes a long ways. Hire slow and fire fast. I have a feeling sometimes in our industry when we lose an employee, puts us in such a bad situation that oftentimes, unfortunately, we hire one of the first people that comes along, and it just perpetuates the problem. So I always tell people to hire slow and fire fast so that you can build the culture that you want. I also recommend talent assessments, especially for key people. These talent assessments can say a lot about a person before you even agree to hire them. And if anybody has any interest in learning more about talent assessments, please let Melissa or myself know. It's a very powerful tool. How about some questions about culture and building cultures? You got anything, Melissa?
Yeah, I actually have a question, David. I'd like to know, how often do you recommend having meetings with your employees?
Okay. Yeah, good question again. Well, the short answer is every day. I like, in fact, if you look at the picture that's on the screen right now, that's one of my clients. These guys have a morning meeting with the entire staff every day. And now some people think that, oh my God, I can't afford to have all my body men sitting around, for that long. But what happens is you have an ability to, to stand up in front of your crew every day and show them the type of leadership, invite feedback, and what that does is it has so many benefits that it far outweighs the negative aspect of having your guys off the shop floor for a few minutes. A good morning production meeting should take 10 or 15 minutes, and it's a very good investment. Another thing that I like to do is to have periodic, what I call continuous improvement meetings, where everybody feels like they can share their voice and talk, openly and safely. That's the most important thing. If people need to feel safe about contributing, saying, hey, we think we could really improve processes by doing this or that, and then management actually acting on it. So that's probably the long version of answer to your question, but any other questions?
I don't see any. Guys, if you have questions, you can type them in the chat box.
Yeah, it's never too late. So we'll keep trucking forward here. Speaking of culture, I was speaking to a lady I used to work with. She works for Abra, and she worked with me at Bradshaw Collision Centers here in Nashville. It was about a year after the acquisition, and I asked Brandy, I said, so, how do you like working for Abra? I was fully expecting that she was going to have a horrible experience like I did. But she says, Dave, you might be surprised by this, but I actually prefer working for Abra. I said, you're kidding me, why? She says, because Dave, every day that I show up for work, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And I said, wow, okay. And, whether we like it or not, companies that provide that type of structure, people come to appreciate it. And the way that we build structure in our business is by having written processes, because they clearly can affect your culture. The sad thing is probably less than one of the 20 shops that I visit for the first time have any type of written process. And that needs to change. It was, where there's no written process, there can be no standard in which to hold people accountable. If you guys are like many of us that are always frustrated because people aren't following the rules, consider that maybe it's because we don't have the rules well enough documented. Like Taiichi Ohno, the father of the Toyota production system, says, where there's no standard, there can be no Kaizen. Kaizen, of course, is the Japanese word for continuous improvement. So if we don't have standards, we can't improve. And so, I would implore you guys to get some stuff in writing. And I'm going to actually share a few secrets with you today about, how you can do that yourself. Or if you don't have time, bring my company in. We do that service for people as well. See, process allows growth. If you think about the massive growth that the consolidators have had, it's because of the processes. That's the only thing that allows them to grow at such a fast rate with any type of consistency in the product. But the reason that the processes stick, and I know that probably everybody on this webinar has had this situation where we've tried to implement something and it just comes unwound, Why won't people do what we ask them to do? Well, that's a huge subject, but one of the biggest reasons is because we don't inspect what we expect. And ways we can do that is, first of all, through testing. Just because our estimator says he understands the process, does he really, or is he just saying that, right? And the other way to do it is periodic auditing. And that's the secret sauce. So how to create a playbook. In the old days, we called them standard operating procedures or SOP manuals, and I've written many of them myself. They were 200 pages long, and they made a great doorstop. So the way I approach the process now is to create what I like to call a playbook. They're not very long, but it runs you through all of the basics and captures 90% of what needs to be done through the administrative process. The difference between 90 and 100% is about 200 pages. So You want to also keep it easy to change, because in the world we live in, nothing stays the same very long. Create lean thinking. Ask why a lot. In other words, if you've got, processes, whether in writing or not already, you really want to continue to ask why you're doing something that way. When I was working with Bradshaw's, that was a culture that had been around since 1967. And when I asked people, when I was writing the SOPs for them, why we were doing certain things, a lot of times people couldn't answer it. Well, because that's the way we've always done it. That's not a good enough reason. You need to find out why, and if it doesn't make sense, stop doing it. The other thing that's very important if you want to get buy-in is to involve the staff in the creation of your playbook. And then keep the why at the center. And what I mean by that is if your company's why is to create an amazing customer experience, your processes need to be in alignment with that. Create a simple test. If I can do this, guys, you can too. And this is I like to create maybe a 20 questions that are in alignment with the playbook. Make it like an ASE or ICAR test. Make them take the test after they've reviewed the playbook, and then retest periodically. And then create a simple auditing system. This is literally a Excel spreadsheet that asks certain questions, and once a month, once a quarter, once a year, whatever your frequency is, you can walk around and just make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, and this creates coaching opportunities to keep everybody doing what they're supposed to do. This is the secret sauce, and this is why companies like Aber and Service King have been able to grow so fast, is because they inspect what they expect. Any questions about process before we move on?
David, I was wondering, can I send everybody this presentation?
That's fine.
Okay. There's no questions.
Okay. So, guys, the exciting news is that the independent and dealership body shops of this country can win. And there's a lot of advantages that, believe it or not, that we have over these giants. You're never going to see the type of passion in a consolidator shop that you can at a well-ran independent shop, right? Family culture. I worked in several family-owned businesses. I love the culture that a well-run family business can create. It makes people want to stay there. They don't want to leave. And quality for the discerning. Some of you guys do, have clients that wouldn't take their car anywhere else because they know if they take it down to Bob's Body Shop, they're going to fix my Jag perfectly every time. You guys have that advantage, and I would definitely take advantage of the advantage. Innovation. You guys can move a heck of a lot faster than a company with 300 stores. And your core values. We talked about this a few minutes ago. Your motivation is to something, to a higher purpose that's much more valuable than to a private equity or shareholders. And trust me, people still like doing business with local companies. I know I do, and I know a lot of you guys do as well. But it's got to be easy. It doesn't take much to sway a customer to go to a consolidator shop if it's going to be tough to do business with you. But I would say more times than not, people really would prefer to do business with local people. It's another advantage that you have. So we've been talking about some practical things that you can do at your shop, but none of that stuff matters unless we can first fix our mindset. Believe it or not, right now is the best time in the history of the auto body industry to be in business. Ironically, for some, it's also the worst. And the differentiator is your mind. At many of the speeches and presentations I give around the country, I like to tell the story about the fortune cookie that forever changed my life. My wife, daughter, and I were eating dinner at the Asian Corner Cafe down the road here in Brentwood, Tennessee, when I got this fortune cookie. On the surface, the story seems a little corny because in reality, we all get and see messages like this all the time. Even on Facebook, we get bombarded with those memes, I think they're called, nonstop. So I can't honestly say that I know for sure why the cookie's simple message resonated with me so strongly that night, except to say maybe I was just in a point in my life where I was really ready to hear the message and understand its meaning. No one is standing in your way anymore. Clearly said to me that I had been allowing years of built-up doubt to hinder my progress in life. I was allowing the opinions and limiting beliefs of others to cause doubt in my own ability to achieve the things that are rightfully mine in this life. The truth is, just like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, I had the power all along to do whatever I wanted and could accomplish anything in life. I only needed to believe it first. You see, folks, fear is the biggest enemy of freedom because we allow fear to shut us down. We let fear destroy the belief in our ability to reach our unlimited potential in life. And where the work is for us is in learning to change our relationship with fear. People that think we can eliminate fear just don't understand how it works. See, fear is an innate emotion that was given to us as cavemen so we wouldn't get eaten by saber-toothed lions and tigers and creatures, whatever they were called. It causes us to run instead of being eaten. The only problem now is that there's not too many critters around that still want to eat us, but we are still experiencing fear for some of the most common experiences in life, like having a crucial conversation with your wife, or maybe having that long overdue talk with a body man that is poisoning the culture of your shop. The message here, guys, is to learn to become comfortable being uncomfortable. In other words, feel the fear and do it anyway. After all, isn't that the real definition of courage? And if you think about it, not picking on consolidators, but if we all believed that we had what it takes, you think the consolidators would be able to buy out of so many independent shops if we believed we could survive? Just a thought. So let's recap real quick. So we need to create a new normal for the customer experience and own them for life. You've got to define your why. Why are you in business? And create a winning culture. Create processes for consistency and predictability. And change our relationship with fear and take control. So guys, if you would like help reaching your potential as a collision repairer, please contact me at Elite Body Shop Solutions. We'd love to help. And we'd also like to see if there's any questions.
Feel free to type those in the chat box, and I'll give those to David. And I will also follow up by sending everybody on the call David's contact information along with a copy of the presentation, and we'll have a link to the YouTube copy of this presentation as well. Any questions? I don't see any. You did a really thorough job.
Guys, I want to thank you again for having me. It's always a real joy to work with RDA. You guys are doing a great job at making a difference in the industry. I want to thank you.
All right, thank you, David. I don't see any questions, and again, I'll follow up and send your information out along with future training webinars we'll be doing. Thank you, everybody. Take care.